Hi there, everybody. This is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts. Sorry it has been so long. A while ago, I actually posted on Facebook that I had an injury and that delayed the episode. But just to let you know, I'm okay. I had a couple of staples on my head, but that was okay. I mean, it was just not. It was just a small laceration. So I'm healed. I can wear this hat again. So anyway, I'm just doing great. So, and I'm healing properly. All right, let's get into the questions, shall we? All right, this is from Rainey from Embarrass, Wisconsin. What information is there regarding prehistoric insects? I assume they were around nearly forever. Thank you, Chris, for teaching me so much about prehistoric life. There's no problem at all. I love teaching people about dinosaurs. It is like one of my favorite things to do, and I want to keep on doing this for as long as I can. For prehistoric insects, they've probably been around. They've been around for almost 400 million years, so they've pretty much arrived at that kind of time. But the most interesting insects that I think were probably during the Carboniferous period, about 300 million years ago, when the oxygen level was so high. It was actually the atmosphere's oxygen rate was basically a third, which in terms of percentage, that is 33%, and that's much higher than it is today. And that allowed a lot of animals to grow bigger, especially the insects and arachnids. We got like dragonflies that had like 3 to 4 foot wingspans. They were massive, and also we got giant spiders that were basically the size of my head. That what is pretty much called Mesophiles, and that spider would have been hunting like small reptiles and probably insects that wandered too close to its burrow or its log, and just attack them. Just pretty much eat them. It would have behaved like some trapdoor spiders, and even some of the female Sydney funnel web spiders. So I probably think that they would actually behave the same way. And after that, the insects got smaller because the oxygen rate got lower, and also, and it's pretty much the insects of today are pretty much, they've almost been around since that long, almost like 300, 400, or 200 million years. So insects survive a pretty good amount of time, but we also find insects in like fossilized amber, which is fossilized tree sap. I mean, we can find those. We won't probably actually find any blood-sucking kinds of insects that were actually around during the time of the dinosaurs, because can't try to get DNA out of a fossil. Can't get DNA from something that hard and also that too precious. So I would probably. And that's pretty much what insects were kind of like at that time. So, bees and wasps actually evolved in the Cretaceous, so that actually kind of helps if that answers your question. All right, Dottie from Maple Grove, Minnesota. What is the closest prehistoric animal to our pet dogs? Well, it's a pretty good question. I really don't know, but the only kind of animal that I know of that is kind of closely related to dogs is Amphicyon, or the bear dog, which is kind of like an animal that is almost a mixture of a bear and a dog. And Amphicyon was as big as a lion, and it would actually be a very fearsome animal to come across. It would actually be hunting pigs. It would actually be hunting some weird kind of animals, though, too. It would be hunting ancient horses. It would be hunting ancient camels. And I think in Amphicyon, it's got like the smarts and the stealth as a dog or a wolf, and it actually has the strength of like modern day bears. So it'd be a pretty fearsome animal. So I mean, I'm pretty sure there's other kinds of ancient canines that we actually can find in the fossil record, but I just don't know a lot about that kind of field of the ancestors of dogs and bears. So I think pretty much the bear dog would probably be, in my opinion, the closest thing to a prehistoric animal is like a pet dog. But I don't think we would want one as a pet, because it would be too dangerous to have one as a pet. All right, Kathy from Wausau, Wisconsin. What types of prehistoric fish are there? Well, there's loads of fish that are in the fossil record. Fish are really common in the fossil record. The first fish probably have first evolved probably pretty close to 500 million years. They were the first vertebrates. Fish were the first vertebrates, and the fish that I have found out that was probably one of the first vertebrates is called Hycuichthyes, which is pretty much the size of your thumbnail, and pretty small, but we can actually see some detail of like the spine, a very primitive backbone. It was the first vertebrate. But if we want to get into the Devonian, which is the age of the fishes, we actually have some pretty fearsome fish, like Dunkleosteus, which is the monster of all monstrosities of carnivorous fish. Pretty much was 20 to 30 feet long, and it had a fearsome jaws. And pretty much all we have of Dunkleosteus is their armor, their armored head, and their jaw bones are incredible. They don't really have teeth. They just have extensions of the jaw bones to make more of a blade from upper and lower jaws. They would have acted like scissors, basically. They would cut through like some smaller fish. They would have cut through some invertebrates like some squid and some nautiloids, which straight coned or coiled cone. But its bite was probably almost similar. It was almost as strong as a Tyrannosaurus Rex. But and also sharks are actually fish. They're considered fish, and if anybody actually watches Shark Week, you can understand what I'm talking about. And because they have gills, they actually swim like fish, and they're pretty much the carnivorous fish. They're pretty much the patrollers of the oceans. They're pretty much they pretty much actually eat whatever they can in the ocean. But also the largest fish that has actually been known in Earth's history is Lesichthyes, and that is the biggest fish that has ever been found. Pretty much over 100 feet long. Would probably spend in groups, probably like maybe 3, 4, 5 members. You don't need to have that big. You don't need to have a big group to protect yourself, especially if you have that much size to your advantage to deter you from predators. And fish are all over the fossil record. If you can, in Wisconsin, there's not that many fish fossils, so pretty much I would probably say that you can go out south, you can go out in the west, you can find fish fossils almost everywhere. Fish fossils are almost everywhere. All right, let's get some questions that I actually got from somebody that actually called me. So let's see if I can get to these. Yeah, he actually sent me 2 questions, and this is Jim from Cave Creek from Arizona. And his 2 questions are: what are the prehistoric origins of tortoises and turtles, and what is the climate like in the Four Corners during the time of the dinosaurs? Now, let me get to your first question. I don't know a lot about the origins of tortoises and turtles, but probably their main ancestors actually came from the Permian, which is the period before the dinosaurs. And those kinds of animals that dominated were mammal-like reptiles. They were very weird-looking animals, but the reptiles that actually kind of almost look like turtles were probably armored reptiles, pretty much like Scutosaurus, which is kind of a weird-looking reptile. It has this humongous skull, and also it had like these bony plates embedded in its skin. And I think that would be almost a close relative of turtles and tortoises. But there have been giant turtles and tortoises throughout time, but that rarely happens. Tortoises are usually considered the biggest of the turtles. They're land-based, but I think probably. But the only turtles that I know are giant sea turtles that actually were around during the time of the dinosaurs, like Archelon, which lived 80 to 70 million years ago, and it was it would have been a magnificent animal to see. And I think Archelon, I think that would be the main turtle that I would like to see in the ocean, and that would probably be my favorite turtle of all time. As for the climate in the Four Corners during the time of the dinosaurs, now, for those of you who don't know, the Four Corners are actually the 4 states that are called the Four Corners: Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. When they're called the Four Corners, it's because they actually have kind of like the 4 corners of like the square, because you actually have 4 90-degree angles actually connecting those 4 states, excuse me. The Triassic, I think it would have been very dry. It would have been very dry. It would have, because we would have some small dinosaurs like Coelophysis, and we had some big honking reptiles like Dismatosuchus, which is a plant-eating reptile. They had these huge spikes coming out of its shoulders. We also have giant carnivorous crocodile-like reptiles like Postosuchus, which was probably the biggest reptile at that time. And it would have been very dry. It would have been a very dry kind of environment, kind of almost similar to the deserts. The Jurassic, it would have been amazing, because it would have had more open habitat and also some forested habitat. And the Jurassic, I think, would have been the greatest time to look at, because you had all those magnificent dinosaurs like Allosaurus, Diplodocus, Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Stegosaurus, the whole 9 yards. I mean, those would have been the most amazing dinosaurs to look at, in my opinion, because they were the most dominating dinosaurs at that particular time. The Jurassic would have been more wet than the Triassic, but even though I think that would have been a really cool time to look at. The Cretaceous period, it was very different. The Cretaceous period had its warm and cold times, but I think in the early Cretaceous it would have been warm, and we would actually be seeing some giant carnivorous dinosaurs like Acrocanthosaurus. We would be seeing some raptors. The raptors would have been probably be dominating the West. More likely, like Utah raptor, Deinonychus. Those raptors are lethal, and I think those would have been the main predators at that time. But in the mid-Cretaceous, parts of New Mexico and most of Colorado was underwater. It was pretty much an inland sea that divided North America, and we'd be seeing a lot of sea life in Colorado and New Mexico. And particularly in the west, like Arizona and some parts of Utah, we'd be seeing some more dinosaurs. Basically, we'd be seeing some tyrannosaurs, still some smaller raptors. Be seeing some duck-billed dinosaurs, some sauropods, long-necked dinosaurs, and we'd be seeing some armored dinosaurs and some of the horned dinosaurs, the ceratopsians. Those would have been the more common dinosaurs at that time. The late Cretaceous, we actually get a much warmer climate, and we get the monster of all monsters, Tyrannosaurus rex, and also you get Triceratops, some more duck-billed dinosaurs, Ornithomimus, an ostrich-like dinosaur, and we'd be seeing a lot of birds and all that kind of stuff. But at that time, in the end of the Cretaceous period, 70 to 65 million years ago, the inland sea was retreating, and it's because it was getting a little bit more drier, and also the climate was actually kind of being suited for the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains was starting to form, and the Rocky Mountains kind of pretty much set new standards in how the climate was going to be like. But pretty much all sorts of climate would have been around at the time of the dinosaurs, and I think the Jurassic would have been my favorite time to go see. I think that would have been very interesting. All right, that's it for now. Now, if you got a question, go to email it to me at dinochris71@gmail.com, and also follow me on Twitter at csgrawl, and also keep following me on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris, and if you just go ahead and like it, and I'll keep posting some videos, and also keep reminding people about what kind of episodes will be coming up. Now, the next 4 episodes would actually be basically being answering questions. So make sure to send in your questions. Make sure your questions are short and to the point, and hopefully I can get some more dinosaur questions and I can actually answer that, because I love dinosaurs. But even though, still send any kind of question, even if it's dinosaurs or prehistoric life. So and also to make sure to take care of the people around you. And also for you younger kids out there, make sure to listen to your teachers, your parents, and your guardians. Those are your most important motivators to get you a good education. And I know that, for example. And hopefully you don't have bad teachers. Just to be honest, just don't have this. But even though if you have a bad teacher, just make sure that you use that as motivation to prove that teacher wrong. You know, even if you don't like that teacher, I mean, that could be a good motivation for you to get much better in your education. But keep on sending those questions, and I'll see you guys later.